Okay, so I think we'll just start now. First of all, a very warm welcome from the side of the panelists as well as from my side. I'm happy to have you all here. Just check, do you all hear me fine with your headphones? Amazing. These are my guys. um, so yeah, the topic of today will be creating a workforce fit for a low carbon future, a young professional's perspective. And as you can see, we have here 4 young professionals. And honestly, I'm also surprised because in the audience, I see a lot of young people too. And I think it's amazing that Enlit also includes our young professionals and makes our voices be heard. So today, I will be the moderator of the session. My name is Francesca Bene. I'm half German, half Romanian, currently working in Switzerland. I'm more of the financial side. I work at Ernst & Young in audit, so I'm looking into banks. So I think it's good that they chose me to be a moderator because my questions are genuine questions. It's the first time for me meeting people out of the energy sector. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this panel discussion. Before we start, I really want to encourage the audience to ask questions. Just raise your hand, don't be shy. We don't bite. So, and the same holds also for the panelists. So if you see that something is unclear or you want to ask each other things or just add some comments, raise your microphone. And yeah, with that having said, I would say we can introduce our panelists. Please share your name, your background, your studies, and your current occupation. And I would say we start with Viktória.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you so much for the invitation and for the very nice introduction. My name is Viktória Döme, and I'm a research associate at the Institute for Manufacturing at the University of Cambridge, where I'm currently working on commercialization policy. So I'm basically trying to understand how government-funded R&D in emerging technologies can be translated into commercial settings. And while I have been mostly focusing in my latest research on emerging technologies that are obviously very important for the energy sector, I have also done lots of research in the energy sector, especially during my PhD, which I have done at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And there I was focusing on comparatively analyzing the different energy policies that various governments are using to support the clean energy transition. And I have also done some research looking at the Central European countries and the Visegrad 4 countries specifically. And through my research, I have been able to identify a very large gap, which is basically that there is a need for better alignment between public and private sector, not only to basically close the funding gap between public R&D, but also not only to close the funding gap between the public R&D and then the private sector, but also in terms of creating a more flexible and adaptive workforce that is aligned with the needs of the private sector. So I think that's from my side, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. So,
Okay.
Should I continue? Yeah. Thank you, Maria, for this great opportunity to talk. And I'm Uğurcan. I'm coming from the Netherlands today. I'm originally from Turkey, and I studied in Turkey. I completed my bachelor's in chemical and biological engineering and business administration. Then I said that, okay, these 2 disciplines are very nice, but I want to combine them because I don't want to that much technical and that much business administrator. And then that's why I moved into the Netherlands 2 years ago. I'm still studying in the TU Delft for complex system engineering and management program. And apart from that, I've been working in the total energies at the moment for reliability engineering for the hydrogen stations and to improve their reliability, availability, and also the business development of the hydrogen stations for the future. And apart from that, last but not least, I've been a board member of the TU Delft Energy Club, and we basically facilitate the public sector private sector, policymakers, and the university and students to collaborate more for the energy transition. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure being here with you and with you. I am Helen. I'm from Germany. I'm actually from this area, so it's really very cool to be here for Enlit, where I grew up. I study renewable energies engineering and now live in Spain, and do my PhD with Nottingham Business School in the UK. And I managed to put all my interests and experiences from my work into my PhD topic on the attractiveness of community microgrids from the perspectives of community and investors in order to drive the energy transition and take my part in this.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tessa, and I studied the same as Uğurcan, so complex systems engineering and management at the TU Delft, with an energy focus. And that led me to start at Vattenfall 2.5 years ago. It's a Swedish energy company, but we're also active in the Netherlands and in Germany. And I started working at the e-mobility department. So we exploit and install charging stations in the public domain, so on the streets, but also at companies and private customers. So that's what I do.
Okay, thank you very much. As you can see, we have here our panelists with very different backgrounds. And now my next question would be, from where does your personal interest come from? So why do you work in the energy sector? Why do you do research in the energy sector? Was there a specific event or person that motivated you? Who wants to begin with this question? Yeah, Helen?
My father has been an early adopter of renewable energies with photovoltaic system and solar thermal energy in our house when I grew up. Then I did a volunteer service in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. And I experienced load shedding and not having energy for weeks sometimes, and no running water, very poor air quality because of all the running diesel gen sets. And I don't know, at that moment, I then decided, I think I want to study renewable energies engineering to allow other communities to experience the clean energy and quality of energy and energy resilience that I grew up with. And that was already 10 years ago. But it's still a crucial topic that we are discussing here at the conference. So it's this is my motivation, and it still is a motivation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Continue? Yeah. Thank you. For me, it's a little bit different because back in time when I was in the summer holiday in Turkey, I unfortunately experienced a catastrophic big forest fire. Then I said that, okay, I should do something for the future. Otherwise, it's going to be more frequently, and I don't want to, give a future for my children, or for at least for myself. I'm still young, and I don't want to leave this kind of earth. So at that time, I'll look for what's the reason of these big forest fires and what's contribute to this one. Then I realized the climate change, unfortunately. And then said that, okay, so how I can contribute to the tackle for the climate change. But I realized that I can do more things for the climate change in energy industry. Then I said that, okay, I'll continue for the energy industry as much as possible I can do for the climate change within this industry. Will also save my life and my future, maybe our child's life as well.
Okay, yeah.
I would say I have a similar motivation. So I think that, I don't think it, I know that climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time, and my background is technical from the TU Delft, and I think I can make most positive impact being in the energy industry with my technology background. So that's for me the biggest motivation.
Yeah, I think just to add on to all of your points is like we are all kind of like doing it for a very similar reason. We are just worried about what's going to happen in the future, and we all think that this is the right place and we can have some kind of impact. For example, my background is in public policy, so I think like renewable energy policy, clean energy transition, etc. It's I'm really hoping that I can have certain policy impact with my work. And what I like in terms of numbers that I found very alarming, we were kind of having a small argument about this yesterday. So how much of the greenhouse gas emissions has the energy sector contributed to? I mean, it really depends on how we define the energy sector. If we include the transport, if we include transportation, etc. But in any case, the number is very high, and I find that very alarming.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your motivation. Here, I wanted to add on, or I actually wanted to come to the topic of today. In your view, what will the future workforce of the energy sector look like? And I think we'll start with Helen. We had yesterday a point about interdisciplinarity.
Yes. How will the future energy workforce look like? Well, looking at us here in the panel, I see different mix of cultures, different mix of disciplines. I don't know what your backgrounds are, but at least I noticed that we study in different countries, we learn different languages, we travel, we come to this conference to hear what industry says, but then we learn something else in the university. So it's all about a mix of skills, a mix of knowledge, diversity, maybe not just in gender and culture and age, but also diversity of thinking, but what the result is in the end, because we all apply like different lenses on this complex issue of the energy transition, and yeah, so this is what I feel like what is maybe needed, because the world becomes more complex. The energy transition seems like super complex, but of course, I guess there will be we need also specialists that are very good in one thing, but we also need, like, let's say, the helicopter people that have the overall idea of what's happening, and to put the concept and things together, bring people together, like in your club. Yeah, this is important.
Business.
Yeah, and I also think from like maybe 30 years ago, when climate change wasn't a big topic yet for most people, the business was very conservative, very it was not really attractive for young people. But I really think that now with the energy transition, that is changing, and it's becoming more and more attractive for young people to join energy companies, electricity companies, but like everything in the whole value chain. So that's a really good thing.
I mean, I agree with both of your points, and I think definitely young people are very much needed in the energy sector, like we all are here, and because sometimes we are very naive and have very innovative and bold ideas that maybe people who are slightly older or kind of lost hope in the world, etc., they don't have such ideas, and I think that's why we are very important to join the energy sector. But like I have another point, which is about gender equality, and I think generally there is a need. So I think the future workforce would really benefit from having more women in the energy sector. And the reason why I think that is because many studies are coming out which are basically saying that companies that are more innovative companies that have more women are much more innovative. And I think that's true also for the energy sector. So, and the reason for that is because obviously men and women have different characteristics, which is totally fine, but they complement each other. yeah, I think, but unfortunately, the gender gap in the energy sector is quite large compared to the other sectors, etc. So I think that's one very important issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I want to add here that I highly appreciate that we are 4 women here and that we have you to compliment us.
Thank you.
I wanted to say that too.
No, I think, I don't know, maybe it's a sign already that the time is changing because, I don't know, we're engineers, politics, finance. I think maybe we do represent the future workforce.
Oh, that's very nicely put, yeah.
I totally agree with it. Yeah, the only things that we now have to do, the cooperation, more cooperation, because it's needed. And we already see it, the diversity, the woman empowerment in this energy sector, it's all needed. So we need more cooperation because we already have this power. As you read the Yuval Harari, he's also mentioning about the rise of the humanity because of the cooperation. So we can use our power for the energy systems as well for the future.
Very well said. Yeah. And I also wanted to raise that question now to the audience. So, what does the audience think about the question, what will the future workforce of the energy sector look like? Is there someone who wants to share their thoughts about that? Okay.
Very shy audience.
If not,
I think
yes.
Can give my headphones.
I'm a little bit older than you. When I started working in the energy sector, I mainly saw people studying electromechanics or turbine technology. I think looking into the future, I think a lot more people from the business come to the sector. So I think that's quite a good development. And I agree, looking to the challenges ahead, the energy transition brings, I think we need much more creative people to really solve it. And I think quite a wide range of people that can really contribute to the sector. I think that's very important. So good to see also such a diverse panel. And I think that is really needed to make the next steps in the sector.
Thank you very much.
No, okay.
Okay, then we'll go further with the next question, which is, I think, a very interesting one. So the next question would be, what is needed to prepare the future workforce and who is responsible for that? And I think, Viktória, you wanted to shoot out to this question.
Yeah, because basically, like during my research, as I already kind of hinted in my introduction, I found that there is like a big gap between the public and private sector. And I mean, when I mean like the public sector, I'm also referring to technical education, higher education, etc. And so very often what happens in higher education is that professors, researchers, PhD students, postdocs are often preoccupied with theoretical questions, but also with publishing into like high impact journals, applying for grants, etc. And very often they lack the cooperation that you were mentioning, that would be very important, cooperation with the industry to better understand what the challenges, what the actual practical challenges are that need to be addressed. And for example, in terms of technical training, what we also see is that we need to create a more adaptive and flexible workforce that can adapt faster to a fast-changing environment. So obviously there are large regional differences. So when we talk about more developed, innovative countries, they are much better in already collaborating, like creating better collaboration opportunities between the private and the public sector. But for example, I come from Slovakia, and in the Central European region, this is still very much lacking. And basically what I wanted to say that I think the ministries are also partly responsible for this, especially ministries of education, because the curricula that they prescribe or that they create are actually very often focusing on theoretical education. I don't know if you have experienced this, but when I was studying back home, very often I had to memorize lots of theoretical concepts, but never really apply them in practice. And I think that's a huge problem because we are not working together with the industry. And therefore, I think that within ministries, there is a need to improve or create stronger technical skills so that the public administration or the public agencies themselves can actually understand what are the current technical capabilities within their country and what are the future capabilities of their country. So what are where they can add more to, for example, the clean energy transition, where they have already the technical expertise and the capacity. So I think that's a large problem. And I think basically there is just generally there is need for more cooperation between private and public sector.
And do you feel like your research is being picked up by the governments?
I hope so. So currently I'm actually working on commercialization policy, so better understanding how knowledge and technology are transferred from the public to the private sector. So yeah, like definitely, like I'm doing consulting work for the UK government and also writing academic papers, etc., and policy briefs, giving advice to different innovation agencies. In terms of what kind of policy instruments they could use to actually improve this cooperation. So I hope so.
Yeah, I can also agree with some part for the need adjustment for the curriculum of the university specifically. Yeah, for example, it's still theoretical and it's still not that much applicable, and they need more collaboration between the industry and also the policy and the university. But apart from that, we are students and we are designing the future. So we should also be included in these phases as well. Yeah, I'm lucky because I'm in the TU Delft at the moment, and as I mentioned, I'm the board member of the TU Delft Energy Club. Luckily, I have this opportunity, and we were discussing with the university how we can open new climate action program for the new generation, because it's happening. But we don't have as my friend Viktória mentioned, we don't have that much capable person at the moment. So we need more capable person. The best way to do, we can change the curriculum of the universities, and we can also make it more inclusive for the students as well for the future. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And we should be more participatory for the students, and we should change our curriculum for the future.
If I add, like, continuing what you're saying on my thoughts, we've mentioned collaboration and communication. So if we already start with this communication and collaboration at the university level, then when we approach working in industry or in academia, then we are used to working with different people, different backgrounds, because this is what I feel like is needed as well. Like, we've heard here in different talks already that technology is there. What is needed is collaboration between public, private sector and academia as well. But also, and so if we start doing this at our level, then we bring this with us to the future and to our working environment in the future, helping to support this collaboration and negotiation as well, because it is not possible. We're all in the same boat. We are all in it together. So there need to be trade-offs between everyone and win-win situation, and that's why also I take this perspective in my research, for example, with the community and investors. So they might seem very diverse, very far away from each other, but there have to be common elements, because in the end they're all needed. So we all need to work together, collaborate together, and this is everyone needs to get on board.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I also think we should start with education before university even. So at schools, younger people to make them enthusiastic for energy careers and sustainability, and also educate them on climate change, etc. So it should even be part of the curriculum before uni, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, just to that point, I think also like the digital transformation is like so like intertwined with the clean energy transition that I think also more education in terms of computer science, programming, dealing with big data, etc., AI, machine learning, and all of these, I think, should be incorporated much earlier in the education of the young people, much earlier than at the university level, so that we actually develop that kind of inclination towards dealing
But
with.
what do you think? Is they capable of to understand this kind of stuff when they are below 18? Because they're still thinking about figuring out their characteristics and isn't it a bit difficult for them to give them some energy sector information for the young people?
I think it's possible. I think like when you are young, you are I think that's when you kind of develop your worldviews, right? So I think if you start understanding that, climate change is actually happening, we need to deal with the energy sector. Like, for example, at my high school, I had no idea what like electrical engineers do or what electrical engineering is, you know? So like the technical background was just so absent from my education, for example, that I think, I mean, obviously they cannot learn the very technical, like very deep stuff, but just kind of like making them used to, I don't know, kind of developing those abilities. I don't know, something like that could be
I
possible.
also agree, by the way, but I questioning how we can do that in future.
Okay.
You know, it's possible, and we should do, I think, at least because it's happening, and we can tackle in the lower level, so we can do it as much as possible. But I really want to see your points, how we can do it. That's why I asked. Yeah.
I guess definitely more computer science. So that people don't come out like, I don't know how to use a computer, or like learning programming, statistics. I guess we do learn some basic statistics, but I don't know.
So we need adjustments, curriculum adjustments for them too.
Yeah, and also here I was thinking at least at my school we had a lot of visits of companies that came, or like events that were happening at school, and I think we had everyone at our school but not the energy sector, and I found them like usually these events quite helpful, and I was just adding that point also to the discussion. Okay. Let me think. Does someone from the audience have any questions at this point? Yes, we have someone here. Amazing.
Hi, thank you. So firstly, I'm encouraged to see that, the whole panel's already got ideas as to how we get more people into the industry, and even research into the matter. But, you guys haven't got headsets. But the biggest barrier, certainly when I graduated, albeit a while ago, was that I did a physics degree, and about 80 to 90% of my cohort all went into the finance community, no offense. And they were on campus every week. They have huge advertising budget, and they took all of the, not necessarily the best talent, because he's right here, but they took a lot of the good talent that we absolutely need, as well as getting more people into STEM subjects. How do we make sure they all stay there and they all contribute to this big challenge? So I wondered if anyone had any thoughts as to how we encourage people to sort of take the sort of challenge to dedicate their career to, as opposed to maybe other industries.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good point. And like the universities where I went to, it was always that the business school, everyone knew that the business school had all the money, they had all the fancy events and all the industry collaboration, etc. But not really if you're like, okay, you are a scientist, then like, okay, go do your stuff in the lab or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, I totally understand. But yeah, in terms of the how to kind of deal with it, I think we need to make these like the energy sector kind of careers more, I don't know how, but like more flexible and adaptive, so that also obviously better pay and yeah, like for example, what's a big problem coming from an academic background is that kind of jumping between academia and industry is quite hard. So if you want to have the knowledge transfer between the two sectors, you really need to make that possible. And if there is just, like, there is very a lot of people that are like smart in obviously both sectors, and there is a need for that exchange to happen. But it's very hard because if you leave the academia, for example, now I'm doing a postdoc, and now I kind of have, at some point, I'm going to have to choose if I'm going to become a professor or if I'm going to enter the industry. And I think once let's say I choose the industry or let's say the public sector, like working for the government or something, it's quite difficult to actually go back to academia, and probably vice versa. So I think these are like some challenges that are definitely important to be highlighted, and then I guess we can start talking about how to deal with them. I don't know if you have any good solutions for this, or ideas.
Yeah, I think that would really help, and I think it's already starting if companies have a really clear purpose. So I feel like the younger generation wants to work for companies with a clear purpose. And yeah, you find that less in the financial world. Of course, you have green investment companies as well, so there will work. But in general, yeah, if you have a company that's really there to combat and mitigate climate change, I think if that's widely communicated, it would attract a lot of young people. Yeah.
What I can say, 2 weeks ago I had... You hear me? What about now? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I had a meeting 2 weeks ago with policy writers from the Netherlands and also the academicians. The academicians want to solve the problem, the climate change problem, by just only focusing on the technicality. But the policies are saying that, okay, we have to discuss because we already have some solutions for it, but you're not using it. You're always saying that, okay, we need more technology. So what you can do, what they can do, more collaborative environment. That's why right now they're planning to open a new climate action program, which is also include the both policy and private science and private sector and also the academia. I think the most, what we can do is a more collaboration basically, because we need it. And the social sciences is more about the talking, but the technicalities are more about the development, new technologies. So someone show them, we are working all together for the same stuff, but we should work together. Otherwise, it's not gonna go. Your way is true. Your way is also true, but we should do all together. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree because I think I don't know. Maybe they are taking up young talents, but in the end, investment is crucial for the energy transition. So maybe it is even good if young talent is in this sector. And if they have like more come, for example, in your case, from the physics, maybe they're more attached to thinking about science and nature, and might influence this sector. I don't know if that's a word in English, but like a Trojan horse. What's that? But it all comes back to the idea of the need for collaboration and active mindsets, let's say, that we are all in this together. So sooner or later, every sector, every sector needs to be active, needs to be proactive, and has to contribute to some point. Like, it's not possible. It's not just the energy sector. The energy sector is wide. The definition is huge, but everything has to somehow be more sustainable and more efficient, and everyone has to do his bit. So, and that's even the financial sector has to change and has to be more proactive into supporting green investments. So, in the end, in fact, I'm like very into interdisciplinarity. So I think it's good if people switch from one point, like one career to the other, and mix up, because this mixing will provide the creativity of thinking and innovation that we may need.
Okay, amazing. Like I felt like I wasn't needed anymore. Like the discussion just was flowing. Okay, honestly, I have some now another question that just popped in because we still have some time. I was curious about how you, as also experts of your field, see now the current energy crisis. Do you think it scares people off? Do you think it creates interest for the field? What are the sentiments there?
Should I respond? Okay. Yeah, I think it's a unfortunately bad, but it also shows us that without any actor, we should all create. Yeah, we should consider the all actors in the system. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. For example, right now we are gas deduction from the Russia. We are unfortunately experiencing the gas crisis and then the energy crisis, then also the economic crisis at the moment. So even we are talking about the recession for the countries. So every actor in that sector is must, and they presence is must to be for the energy transition, and it's a great opportunity because it shows us if we exclude one actor from the sector, then it's not gonna happen, and if it's not gonna happen, the people has to suffer. So that's why I always saying that the cooperation, we need more cooperation, but we need more equal cooperation between the actors because. Yeah, in past we have the centralized systems and mostly the big giant companies, which is I'm working now, which one of them, but they go into everything which they want. But now we can do more cooperative sector by cooperating with the public and the private sector, and also the public sector, and also the universities. The policymakers, because we need it, and it's a great opportunity to show us. It shows us again. For example, if you check the Economist, the front page of the Economist 2 years ago, they were saying the end of the oil and gas. But right now, they're also talking about the oil and gas is becoming more important. So everything is important in that sector, and we should all collaborate to make this transition happen as soon as possible.
Yeah, Oh, Viktória, you wanted to say something?
Do you want to say something? Anything?
Go ahead.
I kind of just wanted to add, based on like kind of the discussion that we had earlier, like on the decentralization of the energy sector. I think what was very interesting that obviously we had these huge energy companies, and I mean we still do, and like these huge monopolies, etc. But what we kind of lose in that is that these companies are too far from the people, from the everyday common people who are not in the energy sector, and then like acceptance of technology is like very low. And I think we were kind of discussing that like if you have to make it kind of more decentralized if you want people to accept the wind farm and the solar panels to be in their backyard kind of. So I mean that was just something interesting that we were kind of talking about.
And I also think that the crisis really shows how energy is a really integral part of everyone's lives, and they didn't really realize it. Like if you flip the switch, the light goes on, and that's it, and you pay for it, but not so much. And now it really shows how interconnected it all is and how it really influences daily life as well. So in terms of awareness, I think that's a good thing. But other than that, of course, it isn't.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this point that we may always talk about the energy transition, but from my point of view, it's like many local energy transitions, because we cannot generalize the world, and we cannot, one country is different to another, a city is different to a rural village. Everyone has their challenges. I personally do my research on islands, geographical islands. So already there, one island is different to the other. They have different challenges. So the energy crisis, again, will have different effects on different countries. And then how this energy transition will look like, how these local energy transition pathways will look like, will depend on the regulations, the collaborations, existing partnerships, also existing infrastructure. So the context influences also, even the culture influences how the people perceive the urgency of the transition, what they accept, or if they have a sense for community, like a natural sense of community, or if they're more individualistic. So the context and the culture and the country, like everything influences. So the focus is also like to push local energy transitions and to move away from just planning, but actually to actions, to make to support through the active mindsets, through collaborations, to generate strategies, like proper strategies that are future-proof, so that it's not only talks of 2030, 2040, 2050, but actually how do we get there? So like, and it's not an excuse that one technology is not yet ready, because we can already implement something else. Prepare the infrastructure now for the infrastructure that will be ready in the future or needed. So we need to make use of everything, and this is needed, and this should have been be done already, then we wouldn't be here with this crisis now. So yeah, I hope I made my point.
Okay.
And I think that kind of like resonates what I said earlier already, that like really even like within public agencies there is a need to recognize where the capabilities are currently and where they will be needed in the future. So I think that's kind of very similar to each other, whether we are talking about public agencies or the community or people or students or young children, etc.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. I'm actually slowly coming to the last question. And the last question would be, what are your visions of the energy sector, and where do you see yourself in the energy sector, so in the future?
I can start. Vision of the energy sector is a really big question. Where I see myself is that I'll be staying in the energy sector for the foreseeable future, as I think I can make the most impact there. And I find it a really interesting field to work in right now. Super relevant, and there's a lot of different things happening. So that's makes me want to stay. And for the energy sector in general, I think like more and more people will start thinking about it. So where it was first maybe very technical, as it was mentioned in the beginning as well, it's now also becoming a legal, a financial, a social topic really. So I think it will become more and more diverse in terms of backgrounds, profiles, gender, everything. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think we already pointed out our perspectives and point of views of how the energy sector looks like in the future. I mean, we are sitting here in the Future Energy Leaders Hub. I mean, maybe we will become future energy leaders somehow. I definitely want to lead with my abilities the energy transition, the local energy transitions. I want to help accelerating it. We have the dates 2030, 40, 50. This will be our career. So we will be there from the beginning to the end of the energy transition, and I'm looking forward to see the results, and I'm looking forward to be there at the center and helping create and accelerating it to achieve our net zero goals.
these are amazing, and I don't have anything to say, but what I can say, yeah, maybe I want to be a facilitator between the different actors in the energy sector to, as my friends mentioned, we can make it as much as possible accelerated. So I want to be a facilitator, and what I can see for the energy sector, it requires more cooperation than the competition.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah. So, I mean, so where I see the future energy sector, I mean, my very optimistic view is that we can reach our goals, hopefully, like net zero, no greenhouse gas emissions, everything renewable, etc. I'm really hoping that it's possible. But and in terms of where I want to be, I think so. I mean, I'm really hoping that I can have policy impact at the European level at some point. And so basically, the reason I come from Slovakia, and just like looking at the government, it's quite difficult to actually have impact from within the government, I think. So I think I was always thinking that probably at the European Union level or European Commission level, it would be generally more possible. So yeah, I think that's where I kind of see myself in the future. Definitely in the energy sector, I think there is lots of potential, and all the creativity, smart minds, everyone is really needed there. So I wasn't planning to leave at any point for sure.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. Is there still a question from the audience to our panelists? If not, I think we'll close this session with that, with your visions for the future. And again, I thank you for your time of being here, of having traveled here. And yeah, thank you very much. A big applause for you.
Thank you for the
Thank
moderating.
you, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
everyone.